Welcome back to another version of Will It Measure. Today's challenge is to reverse engineer a wire basket and take that information into SolidWorks. We're going to utilize a piece of tubing software called TZCAD. TZCAD is the premier piece of tubing software in the industry, specifically designed for reverse engineering of tubings, inspecting tubings. It's designed for outputting code to tube vendors and being able to come back in and track the corrected data and so forth. But today we're going to utilize it for a reverse engineering function. So let's get started. Also utilizing the Microscribe MX with a 3mm Ruby probe on board. So we'll come over here to TZCAD. We're going to start by saying measure, tube tactile. You see the path that we're going to place our tubing data in. The diameter of this back tube here is 0.15 and the radius of the bend is 0.2. We'll color the tube blue and let's go ahead and get started. So we'll bring the Microscribe into place and I'm going to measure a plane on the end of this wire. Utilizing the hand switch to collect the data, I'll take 3 points. We'll go ahead and start measuring the tube itself, or the wire. The next cylinder, then the next cylinder. Let's move on to this straight here. We use the second switch to say no, we don't want to measure the next cylinder, we want to measure the planar end. So now we have our first wire in place. We can see that it's a good representation of the wire. So let's keep going. We're going to do this frame wire next. Measure tube tactile. Same data. Let's go ahead and change the color. We'll make this one red. And we'll get started. So again, measuring the planar end. Let's get the wire information. Say no, and we'll measure the end to terminate. Say yes to finish. All right, let's spin it around and see where we are in space. So we're starting to get a good representation. Now let's start working on the basket framing. So say measure, tube tactile. I'm going to go ahead and shift. We know that this diameter wire is 0.08. And the bend radius is going to stay the same. Let's shift down to a yellow color. And we'll start getting that data. All right, same process. Tube end, cylinders, reach down into the basket, get the second cylinder. And then the third cylinder. Now let's get the planar end. All right, let's go ahead and get the next one. So you can see that I can obtain these geometric shapes in wire very quickly. As we finish up the last section of the tube in this direction, all right, so you can see we're starting to get a very good interpretation of the basket. All right, let's also look at some of the information we're collecting along the way. Into ZCAD, it's collecting not only the CAD data, but it's collecting the TBE data and the XYZ data. So we could take this and export it directly out to a bender if we wanted to just run this particular section of tubing. All right, let's go ahead and work our way down the cross section and gather some more data. So we'll come back into the measure. Let's change over to a different color, call it light blue. And we'll keep measuring. All right, we've got the starts of the basket. We'll keep measuring along the way. All right, let's go ahead and take the last wire in the process. Now keep in mind, from a manufacturing perspective, all of these wires that we've taken in this direction, you really only need one to be able to represent it with this basket because it is it's planar. But for a three-dimensional rendering and for you just to be able to see the form and the fit and the functionality of the system, I wanted to go ahead and render out the whole basket. So let's go ahead and get the last measurement. Same process, planar end, cylinders, that product. We're going to save these tubes out and then bring them into the SolidWorks environment so that you can get an idea of what they look like in SolidWorks. Again, tube data, all the data is right here. We could export these, we can modify them, we could move them, we can do anything we want to this data to export it to tube bending. After we bent the first one, we could measure it against a master or measure it against this CAD data and understand the correctable data inside of the bender and then output that correctable data. So let's move on to the export process, and we're going to go ahead and export these and pick them up in SolidWorks. All right, so we've exported the file, and let's take a look at it inside of Rhino. Here it is. Now it's still a simple IGES file inside of Rhinoceros, but this will show you export capabilities. So there's the file inside of Rhino. Then we exported the file over to SolidWorks. So here's the file exported into SolidWorks. So the ZCAD software in combination with the Microscribe products makes for a great way to reverse engineer wireframe parts, tubes, and so forth. Thank you for taking a look at this version of Will It Measure, the wire basket. And yes, it will measure. If you'd like more information about our products, you can contact us at www.gomeasure3d.com, or feel free to give us a call at 434-946-9125. Thank you.